Into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a video rating Gacha games endgame content from worst to best. Ooh, people gonna get angry on this one. I'm actually very curious what number one would be. I guess we'll have to watch the video and find out, but very, very excited to see this list. It's 30 minutes long, so it's gonna be a long video. So let's
Come
get
back.
into it.
In any gacha game that
like
you play,
Moose. I think
endgame
Moose
content
good,
is some of the most important content that exists, because after
makes
you're
good
done with
videos.
everything the game has to offer, which with this genre, that'll probably happen quite frequently,
Yeah,
there's
that's why I
nothing
gotta
else
play,
to do. I hear quite a
gotta
lot of
play,
people say that
World of
endgame
Warcraft.
content is unimportant, or it's just for a little extra currency, but that sentiment is incredibly incorrect, as
agree.
endgame content is one of the biggest drivers for player retention when content is dry. So in this video, we're
I just want to point this out. I'm doing this in the beginning of the video. I absolutely despise, I really do, when people say it's just a couple jades. I understand that sentiment, but we've used that argument against Hoyoverse, and so when we say it's just a couple jades, I don't know, man. To me, these are games where it's not like a World of Warcraft where you could sit down and pay $20 for the month and you have tons of content to do. These are games that genuinely cost money and have tons of time sink into them. So it's frustrating when people want to do that and like invalidate someone's thoughts or criticisms, like, oh, it's just a couple jades. Like, yes, but you need to understand that not only is that a slippery slope, but these games are making millions and millions of dollars, and even for you to play them or stay up to date, you need to either spend a ton of money or or you got to grind like a second job, right? Also, Harsh, I appreciate the follow, brother. Thank you, man. So I'm just saying I don't like that sentiment. That's why I'm a big proponent of just move the Asteroids up from the most recent. Just move the Asteroids up from the most recent TOA floors. So if you don't want to change the vigor, you want to do other things, and we'll talk about it again a little bit later. Just move the Asteroid up. You know what I'm saying? Also, Tillian coming in with the World of Warcraft hate, undespicable. It's just a couple of Jades when it's bad. It's a couple of Jades when I can't do it. Yeah. Exactly.
going to take a bunch of gacha games like I usually do, and we're going to rank their endgame content from worst to
It's
best.
alright.
We've got the most popular mainstream gacha games, as well as your guys' favorite, as well as my favorite gacha games in this video, so
I just
stick
don't
around.
understand
But
how someone plays that
before we
other
get
cat
started,
game.
we're
It just
getting
ain't for
very
me.
close to 10,000 subscribers, so make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, everyone go follow
because I'm
him.
going to be doing a giveaway when
Gacha
we
Cast
do,
at like
and you should
3
also
PM.
join the Express Train Discord server for a lovely community to hang out with. Now let's
W.
get on to it. So the rules are going to be as follows. I'm trying to make my ratings way less arbitrary and more detailed. So I've got a detailed rating system here. There will be a base rating of 1 out of 10 for each game for symmetry's sake, and 3 criteria, each with a score out of 3. So with a base rating of 1 out of 10, and if each criteria receives a 3 out of 3,
Every patch and every gacha should have enough free-to-play currency to get soft penny and not down that hill. Oh, I agree with you. It just won't happen. It just won't happen. They make too much money, you know, doing other things.
the final score will be a 10 out of 10.
But
The 3
I don't
criteria
disagree
will
with
be
that
enemy
sentiment at all.
quality, how well designed the enemies are, how fun they are to fight when it comes to mechanics and the amount of HP they have, as well as how
What up, Razor?
frequently they are
What up, baby? I got you, homie. I got you, dog. Dap me up. Hope you're having an amazing day.
reused
Welcome
in
in,
the endgame
dog.
content.
Let
Mode
me
quality is in how well designed the modes are, how unique they are from each other, and how fun they are to play. The final criteria is FTP accessibility,
kill me
which
while I'm
means we're
running.
going to talk about HP inflation and power creep again. Yay! This is a very self-explanatory criteria and is also very objective, so no further explanations there. For the final rules, I'm not
fuck.
going to count events as
Oh.
in-game content
Wait, Razor,
unless
give me a
it's
second.
basically the only content available in the game, and exploration is also not counted as in-game content.
Oh
I will
my
either
God.
be taking modes that the community considers to be end-game content, or I'll be taking any modes that exist
Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. Son, they couldn't touch me. I got out of it. Hold on. Delayed. Damn, oh my god, bro. Come on, son. You can't tell me I'm not the greatest fucking player of all time. Let's keep it pushing.
and seeing
Sorry.
if they fit the definition of content that is made to test your account.
Okay.
So again, exploration and most events, as well as any modes that buff you up to oblivion, so the roguelikes or roguelites, whatever they are in
Elusive
ZZZHS on
Realm.
Ruo, for example,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
count. Oh, and the list is in order from worst to
Love you,
best,
Mystery.
just as usual. So with all these rules out of the way, let's get started.
It's so funny because he's saying that endgame is not included, but trying to climb up a mountain in Genshin Impact is the endgame, bro. So, like, that's very interesting that he's saying that. I think he should make a special exception for Genshin specifically. Yo, it's good, cool, it's good, dog. Good morning, man. Good morning. Like, holy lord. Anyways, let's keep pushing.
We're going to start off with
Worst.
Limbus Company, and while this game is one of
Oh!
the most beloved gacha games of all time by its player
Okay.
base, they all collectively hate the endgame content, so it has two modes, Mirror Dungeons and Refraction Railways,
Was good, Sleepy.
the latter of which barely even exists. It only resets once a season, so around once every 7 months. The other mode,
Wow,
Mirror
what the
Dungeons,
hell?
though, resets once every week. You can either do a hard Mirror Dungeon to get all the rewards, or 3 lower difficulty ones. Now, Mirror Dungeon is a roguelite mode, and unfortunately, it is one of those modes that really buffs up your account quite heavily. To the
Okay.
point where, in Mirror Dungeons, a lot of the progression your account can see inside of it is just clearing faster than before. However, because Limbus Company has no other modes besides this and the railways, I'm going to have to penalize it to make up for that.
Just a quick PSA though, while editing this video, 5 extra floors have been added to Mirror Dungeons in the name of Extreme Mirror Dungeons. However, I don't think they add enough to warrant a different rating than what I'm going to give. If anything, you can add a score of 0.5 to the mode quality section. However, I don't think I'm going to do that here. So, to start off with enemy quality,
It's out of
in
3, by
Limbus
the way,
Company,
chat.
enemies are very well designed. They have many different mechanics that you have to play around, and while I myself don't enjoy the combat in Limbus, and it actually was the reason I stopped playing this game because I'm a gameplay first type of guy, those who do find the combat fun also find the enemies very well designed and fun to play against. However, since the railways rotate so infrequently, they have the same enemies for a whole season. The Mirror Dungeons mode also receives a lot of complaints about how repetitive combat feels inside of it, and to move around that, players started making their own challenges to even have fun in the game, like solo runs. In the end, I'll give it half credit for having very well designed enemies, but playing.
I will say, Limbus Company, I know this might sound like a boomer thing or whatever, but the amount of reading that's in that game, man, like I just can't stream it. Like, it's probably a game one day I'll sit down and just play by myself and enjoy personally for myself. But I don't know. I don't think it's good stream content personally. I'm sure you could probably make it really fun and entertaining, but at the same time, like, I feel like I'm reading people a bedtime story, you know what I mean? So it's just not something I would sit down and stream. And also, I do think the combat's a little jank. I only played a little bit of it, but yeah, I don't know. I know a lot of people really, really like the game, but I don't think it's for me. Also, where is this dungeon, dog? Where is this?
Playing against those enemies does feel repetitive, so
find, bro.
1.5 out of 3. When it comes to mode quality, well, to be fully fair, Mirror Dungeons does have a few challenge achievements aside from its usual gameplay, so aside from players making their own challenges, they can also try their hand at Mirror Dungeons as challenges. However, that still didn't stop players from complaining about how repetitive Mirror Dungeons is. Refraction Railways isn't much better, again, because it rotates so damn slowly. My opinion, as well as the community's opinion, is the same, both modes are incredibly boring. To give an example that appeals to a wider audience, imagine that in Honkai Star Rail, Apocalyptic Shadow and Pure Fiction didn't exist, and the MOC only rotated once every 4 patches or so, and the only other piece of content you could do was the Divergent Universe. It would get pretty damn boring, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, in this criteria, Limbus Company will receive a 0 out of 3. When it comes to F2P accessibility, though, you can clear the game with basically anyone. Again, remember that in Mirror Dungeons you can do solo runs, and those solo runs could be with basically any character in the game. Refraction Railways is also very similar, allowing you to use so many different characters. Either way, you can also just get every single character in the game by just grinding. So, in F2P accessibility, Limbus Company will receive a full score of 3 out of 3. However, like we said, Limbus will be penalized because Mirror Dungeons is the only endgame content that frequently rotates, but it's a roguelite mode that really buffs up your account, so I'm going to take away the 1 out of 10 base rating, which means Limbus Company will receive a final score of 4.5 out of 10. Unfortunately, the lowest on the list. Next up, we've got Genshin Impact, somehow not the lowest on the list.
Wow, okay. I mean, I agree with this. I think Genshin's endgame is abysmal, but absolutely very curious to see what bro thinks about this. Limbus Company, I think ranking a little bit lower is fair based on the based on what we've been told. I'm not particularly mad about that, to be honest with you.
Even though I expected it
Morning,
to
what up, baby?
Genshin Impact has 3 modes, the Spiral Abyss, Imaginarium Theater, and Stygian Onslaught.
Yeah,
the Spiral Abyss being your box standard tower mode with a pretty solid foundation, but handled pretty badly, just like the rest of the game, basically. Solid foundation, terrible handling. Imaginarium Theater is a more advanced version of the Spiral Abyss, but not in a very good way. For example, you're restricted to only using a few elements and a few guest characters. Stygian Onslaught is definitely the best mode, by far in my opinion. It's similar to Honkai Star Rail's Apocalyptic Shadow, but it's much more of a whale mode at higher difficulties, which some players
Dude, here's the thing with Stygian Onslaught is that I'm not even trying to be funny with you. There's genuine validity to let whales have something. Like no trolling, no anything like that. The problem is the context of which let whales have something was used in a way that I didn't like in my personal opinion, where you how do I frame this? Giving players a mode to have like an HP sponge to kind of like fight with is not, again, a horrible thing. The problem is that this was their version of Endgame that they provided after years and years and years in dog shit Imaginarium theater that wasn't really suffice and didn't necessarily add anything. Like, there's no genuine challenge to it other than like, are you whaling, right? If you are whaling, you're still having a problem. You know what I mean? You're still having a massive problem with that, and that's the issue. It's not like necessarily a skill-based game mode. You can make the best character builds of all time, but the bosses that they're putting in, the way the boss mechanics work, and all this shit, it's unfortunate, and that's what I'm saying. It's sad because realistically, it could have potential, but they took it and they didn't really, make it a good game mode, and well, that's what happens. So again, I'm not necessarily mad about, let's say, quote unquote, whales having something to do, because I think that is very good, but also locking behind cosmetics when people want cosmetics for the longest time is another bullshit fucking mechanic. It's like, really? Like, why are we locking cosmetics behind this? So yeah,
might not like. So let's start with enemy
wanted cosmetics for
quality.
the longest
Outside of
time.
Stygian Onslaught, enemies in Genshin Impact are very bad. They have
Yup.
very boring AI that feels inconsistent between enemies. Even then, there are no true parry and dodge mechanics, so you can never even benefit from enemies
What up,
attacking
Blade?
you like you can in other games like Zenless Zone Zero. Some boss enemies also have invincibility windows that don't stop the endgame timer when they're active, like
Yup.
Magu Kenki waking up in the ruin serpent going underground. All of this combines to also mean that Genshin Impact's enemies, recent HP inflation put aside, have a lot of HP in relative to how fun they are to fight. They really are just punching bags with a few elemental checks here and there.
It's not only elemental checks, it's mechanic checks, and that's the problem. That is why people like myself are annoyed. Also, good morning, Sean. I love you, buddy. Since it is a elemental check on top of, do you have a nod cry character? Do you have this type of reaction? It's ridiculous. And yes, the cosmetics expire as well. So what the fuck? What's the point, right? That's to me is the fundamental issue with the game mode. It has genuine potential. It absolutely has potential, but that potential will not be seen because at the end of the day, it is a Hoyo game, and it is what it is. I enjoyed the story at least, though, so that's a plus, right? That's a plus, I guess.
Which makes the combat so goddamn boring.
Also, I
to
got
me.
gear W.
In the Spiral Abyss and Imaginarium Theater, enemies are also reused so frequently it makes doing these modes feel like such a chore. Looking at the enemy lineups for these two modes in all of 5.x, they're chock full of almost 2-year-old enemies released in Fontaine, which isn't that bad, but also super old enemies released in Sumeru and even Inazuma. Now, these two modes have a lot of chambers, which means that they're gonna want a lot of enemies to fill them up, so they end up reusing older enemies, but that just ends up making it feel like more of a chore to do. In Stygian Onslaught, though, the enemies have unique mechanics, and that's basically all I have to say about this criteria when it comes to this mode. So
yeah,
I'll
you
give
know
it
the
a
unique
1 out of
mechanics
3,
are that
failing in
unique.
2 modes, but doing pretty well in the third, or at
You
least
know that.
relatively well.
The other thing with the Abyss is, technically speaking, the Abyss is actually pretty. If they were able to change it where after you get your first clear, you're able to pick any chamber of any half. That way you don't have to keep repeating it. The Abyss would honestly be a lot more tolerable and actually, in some ways, I think way more enjoyable. Despite the fact, obviously, there's massive HP inflation and there's other things, yada, yada, yada. Just like, I was doing the Abyss on my girlfriend's account yesterday. We got 3 stars the first chamber. Luce, I appreciate you, dog. We got 3 stars the first chamber, 2 stars the second chamber, and the third chamber, I had to completely change the team. And it was like 1 a.m. and I'm like, dude, I'm going to bed. I'm not redoing this right now. Like, I'll do it tomorrow. And I think a lot of people feel that way, and I don't know why that's something that doesn't necessarily get brought up when we talk about it, why they don't make that change, because it's a very simple fix that I think would be great for the video game, but why would you even do that? I mean, hey man, she wants a character, so here we are. I'm a good boyfriend. What can I say? But yeah, I think that's like one of the easiest fixes for that game mode. Like genuinely, it's so weird that they don't do that.
When it comes to mode quality, then there's nothing really wrong with the Spiral Abyss, like we said, other than the enemies it's filled with. Its mechanics are completely fine. With Imaginarium Theater, that's where it starts going down.
I don't know about the mechanics being fine either. Again, Genshin Impact. You know what? It's not even a Genshin Impact thing. It's a Hoyoverse thing at this point. Hoyoverse, HSR, Genshin Impact, ZZ, they all rely on some sort of elemental debuff / class type debuff. And yeah, I guess you could say the mechanics are fine if you enjoy it. Also, good morning, Wuma. What up, baby? But that is like how Hoyoverse does their games. It is what it is. So what can you do? Never even occurred to me. Just let me change the team per floor. Dude, if you change the team per floor, you know how much time that takes out of me having to, like, I'll never forget. I think we did this on stream for a video. I had to force an Ahita team on a Dendro-resistant boss because I was fighting Papelia, and people were like, oh, Hyperbloom's good with Papelia, but I had to sit there for 8 fucking minutes and force a Dendro team that shouldn't have worked. And I'm like, really? Like, what are we doing, you know? The little card system auto attack based on class, how creative they could be. I don't know, man. I think Hoyoverse games genuinely do have the potential to be great. Like, at one point, Genshin Impact was a lot better. I think Fontaine. Again, Nod Cry, the story's pretty good. The region is beautiful, and it's a lot more accessible, I think, than Natlin, absolutely. So there is genuine positives to the region. It's just that the gameplay stuff, it's just, these are how the games are going to function, and it's just not for me. And that's why we play other games, right?
Downhill.
Imagine Theater's also dog shit.
Restrictive or have requirements that some accounts may not have. And while yes, it does incentivize building many characters, in a game like Genshin Impact, it ends up not being very enjoyable for many because of the elemental restrictions. Stygian Onslaught, on the other hand, is a pretty well-designed mode, unique enemies, high difficulties for the whales, and actually well-designed challenging combat. The only bad thing about this mode is that it's still just a race against time.
I don't think having to use Pyro on a unit and then HP is well-designed combat. I think well-designed combat is some of those Natlin bosses, right? The Natlin local legends that didn't require you to do stuff like that. Or maybe, like, you know, you had to do a parry boss. You had to do a boss that, you know, when you're fighting, brother, they spawn you to the Shadow Realm. And then, you know, every time you kill an ad, you take damage. But once you kill those ads, you do more damage in return. Those are good mechanics. Oh my god, I got caught up in a whirlwind. Again, this is just his opinion, and that's fine. He can have his opinion. I don't particularly care. I like Moose. I think Moose makes great videos. But I just don't consider that a good mechanic. I really don't. I think we're kind of... Maybe he just likes that, and you know, it is what it is. But please forward me your concern. Oh, thank you so much, Sean. Yeah, I appreciate it. I get right on that. Stygian's restrictive, and the thing with what's it called? Oh my god, what's that dog shit game mode? Imaginarium Theater. Is Imaginarium Theater? They don't even. Okay, the lineup is Geo, Electro, Hydro, whatever. Let's just say that's the lineup. You don't have enough characters built, so you're locked out of Primo Gems, right? People say it doesn't matter, yada, yada, yada. Okay, sure, whatever. I think it's dog shit to begin with. The same way I don't even like Weewa locking people out of Primos. That's a whole different conversation. You finally get enough characters to do that, you know, version of the game mode, and it either expires or you just can't get the clear yet. And then it goes from, you know, Geo, Pyro, Hydro, whatever. It's like completely different elements, and now you're fucked. And you're shit out of luck, and now you got to rebuild characters all over again. And you can make the argument that all you got to do is get them to level 70 and not worry about their talents and shit. But let's just be honest. Most people are not professionals, and they're doing that endgame mode for currency. And even when you are a professional, sometimes that game mode just fucking sucks cock. Like, it just genuinely sucks penis. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't... it's ass, you know? Good luck clearing IT level 70 characters. Exactly. Also, Blazion, I'm not talking about normal Natlin bosses. I'm talking about some of the local legends. The local legends were actually very, very well designed. Well, some of them at least. Not all of them. But yeah. What up, Forlova? How do I just want to know Seed's feet? Wait. How you doing? I just wanted you to know I like Seed's feet more than Yuno's story. more than Holy fuck, you made me have an aneurysm. Jesus Christ, I don't know why. Yo, what's good for Lova Sim? You fucking weirdo. What's up, buddy? How are you? You having a good day today? Jesus Lord. Oh my God. But yeah, you guys get the point. My bad. I'm fucking autistic. Holy shit. I can't read. But yeah, so.
Just like the other two modes, unfortunately.
Also, Wuma said, at the end of the day, they're making gacha games. They make endgames to tempt people to pull the latest characters. Local Legends devs are allowed to make fun because it's not their show banner content. For sure. I just wish that we would see that more often. Well, I mean, even the most recent Local Legends, some of them kind of shill a little bit. But it is what it is, bro. Like, again, I'm not mad about it. I understand how the game will be. It's not going to change. Yeah, it is what it is. Fuck it. You know what I mean? What can you do? Bro almost died. Yeah, you fucking tripped me up for a second.
But
I was like, what?
The timer's also very short. It'll receive a 1 out of 3 here as well. Finally, when it comes to FTP accessibility, then while it's starting to get worse, you can still clear the game with many older units, and more skilled players can clear with almost any units, except maybe Xinyan or something. Although I do think, and you'll probably agree with me, that Genshin's player base is very casual, and so increasing HP like they've been doing recently is very scummy and cucks their player base even more than they've been doing over the years.
Absolutely.
But this video isn't about that, so I'll give it a 2 out of 3 here. I think it will definitely end up getting worse, just like it did with the 2 other Hoyo games that begin with Honkai. So Genshin Impact will receive a final score of 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10, damn.
Speaking of Honkai, we've got Honkai Star Rail up next, with its 3 modes, Memory of Chaos, Pure Fiction, and Apocalyptic Shadow. There's a rumored or leaked 4th mode coming, but I'm obviously not counting it. So Memory of Chaos is your box standard tower mode,
I think
Pure
it was
Fiction is
confirmed
the
now, right?
AoE mode, and Apocalyptic Shadow is the boss mode. And they all rotate 1 by 1 every 2 weeks. Nothing else I have to explain about them. So let's get right into it. When it comes to enemy quality, well, outside of HP inflation, Honkai Star Rail has incredibly simple combat, and while it used to have incredibly simple enemy designs, in recent updates they've definitely added more fleshed out mechanics outside the Apocalyptic Shadow. And even though a lot of those mechanics chill certain characters way too damn much, it's still an improvement. But either way, Honkai Star Rail also reuses enemies so damn much, but I wouldn't say as much as Genshin, but that's mainly due to Genshin having 3 chambers.
Honkai Star Rail has the best endgame, and if you can't clear it, you're stupid and greedy. Yes, sir. I am pinning that in chat. Abso-fucking-lutely. I agree with you 100%. You're a dumb, greedy bitch if you can't clear it. Absolutely. Pokey would be very proud of you. He would be very, very, very proud. 1,000,000%. HSR's endgame, man. I don't know. The game. I think it's hard to grade HSR's endgame just because of how, well, I guess it wouldn't be hard, but like for how much power creep that's happened and HP inflation and all this other shit. Yeah, I'm actually surprised. HSR's endgame is better than Genshin's though. I'll say that. I was about to say I'm surprised, but I'm not, because HSR was in a really good spot for a decent period of time. So I think to me to sit here and pretend like that it's the worst thing ever would be disingenuous. It has just gotten worse over time, but had tons of potential, and at one point was very fun. So yeah. Also, what up, Solo? What up, baby? What's good, brother? So yeah.
For 2 halves in each stage, while HSR just has 2 halves for each stage. Pure Fiction also reuses enemies quite often, probably more than the MOC because there's more enemies on the field. However, both of these modes suffer from using many bosses way too many times, like Svarog and the bugs in the MOC, as well as Jeopard in Pure Fiction.
What up, Carl? What up, baby?
They also suffer from another issue, which is that so many damn enemies are just reskins. Multi-billion-dollar company that's probably closer to multi-hundred-billion-dollar company here, and it's making enemy reskins. Genuinely pathetic. Enemies in the Apocalyptic Shadow are also reused quite often, unfortunately.
The HSR community is not going to be happy about that one, buddy. You better watch out before they cancel you on Twitter, the same way they canceled Kat for having a good life and a lover. Imagine. Miserable fucks these people are.
Colia being the biggest defender, and when comparing it to Stygian Onslaught, I'm not sure if the latter will start reusing their bosses too. I mean, probably.
I hope it does.
However, I do think I will excuse the reuse of enemies here because I'm very biased towards Apocalyptic Shadow because it's a very fun mode that I used to enjoy a lot. Okay. And the only thing really bad about it is the very obvious HP inflation. Now, even though newer enemies have been getting more mechanics, those mechanics are not only heavily catered to newer characters, but they still tend to use older bosses like Svarog in the MOC that have no mechanics whatsoever and are instead just a punching bag. And no, him throwing his arm to grab you is not a mechanic, it's just annoying.
No,
I think
I
I'm
love
going
when
to
he
give Honkai
grabs
Star Rail
me.
1.5 out of 3 here.
You could have a
It reuses
lover?
enemies a lot, and with all the
That's what I'm
characters,
saying,
they can
brother.
feel like punching bags like in Genshin, but the Apocalyptic Shadow is way too good to ignore here. And I would also say Honkai Star Rail's enemies are more fun to fight than Genshin Impact's enemies, but that is subjective and some people would say otherwise. But
Okay,
since this is my
I could
list,
see
so I'm
that.
going to give Honkai Star Rail an extra 0.5 here.
I think that it's your list, but you're not being fair. And honestly, I'm just gonna cancel you because I would disagree with you. I do. I would disagree. I do hope HSR goes into a better spot though. You know, I don't think, other than Epic 7, I don't think we're gonna have a turn-based gacha game come out that genuinely has potential. And I really do want to play a turn-based gacha game just because like it's a different set of pace. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it does get better. We'll see what happens, but I am not holding my fucking breath. I also really do think that it's just so far out. Like realistically, there's no way I'm catching up, right? And good for most of 3.0. I mean, listen, man. You know, I don't. If that's how you feel, I think that's fine, right? I'm not here to argue with you. I really don't. If you feel that way, sure, right? Absolutely. But yeah, I'm good. I literally cleared this past MLC with an entirely 2.1 team. That's the most EO argument you've ever made in your life. Okay. I cleared the 2 floors in TOA with Camilla. Actually, I'm lying to you. I cleared the last floor in TOA with Camilla. Does that mean that there's not a problem? Like that's such a fucking weird argument. Like we shit on EO for that argument, but now everyone's literally using that argument. It's so fucking stupid. Like that's actually insane. I don't give a fuck if you did it, Tillian. You're not the normal person. You're actually smart. You know how the game works, and you're understanding the mechanics, right? You are not just like how I'm not like a normal person. You play the game, you stream it. I would consider you a pro. How am I going to showcase a power creep in a turn-based game? I'm not doing this with you right now, but yeah, I think that I don't like that argument. That's the same shit when Pokey said, guys, power creep doesn't exist because someone used a S0 Sealy in 3.0. It's like, okay. Like, sure. Like, if you want to go that route, by all means. It's just sort of problems. That isn't the go. True. I agree with you, Lemon. Absolutely. 100%. It's 2 fucking buttons. I mean, you're extremely dumbing down all the problems people had with power creep, with the shills of the bosses, the characters, the different branches and trees. Like, we can't sit down and be super disingenuous and say it's a 2-button game, it's super easy, when realistically, there's so much different stuff that goes into the problems with the game. We could have a different discussion about it, absolutely. But to be like, well, I cleared it and it's only 2 buttons, so it's not that real, is just kind of fucking insane. Because if someone said that about Wuwa right now, well, some people might be like, "Oh, it's okay," like because the community I think really doesn't want to admit that there's a little bit of a problem. But you know, everyone shit on EO for this. It's the same exact argument. It's stupid. It's a dumb argument.
Over Genshin because of that. When it comes to
Put
mode
extra tag
quality,
on that
well, all
bitch.
3 modes are effectively a race against time, however they do play quite differently. Regardless of HP inflation and power creep, the mechanics of each mode are very fun when put in a vacuum. It's just the race against time factor that is shared between them which holds it back. If Apocalyptic Shadow was more like the holograms in Wuthering Waves, what focuses on the boss itself and its mechanics a lot more than the timer, it would have been a lot better, for example, but I don't see an issue with the MOC being a race against time because it's the standard endgame mode. So in the
How about like we just get game modes that aren't a race against time? Like I feel like that'd be a pretty cool concept. Like if you know, I think that'd be pretty dope. Stop racing against time. Can we get like a fucking horde mode? Can we get something? Like just something, the gacha game. Well, I think it's very unrealistic. I don't think we'll ever get that actually. These gacha games, they want you to have a race against time, so you feel the need to sweat, and then after that, if you don't if you don't clear it in time, you can just buy more constellations. You can buy a bunch of different things, whatever the case may be. It probably will never happen. Wizardry, dude, Wizardry, I think is honestly one of the best gacha games I've ever played. I genuinely loved and enjoyed Wizardry, and I think it deserves more respect. I wish it had more of an audience, but it doesn't, and that sucks because it's a great fucking video game. My waves aren't feeling weathered right now. Shut up, Waldo, bitch, bitch. Yeah, I love Wizardry, but Wizardry also has horrendous gacha in it though. Like Wizardry's gacha's fucking dog shit though. If it wasn't made in 1932, dude, I don't even care about the graphics. I think it just looks so good. I actually really like the old graphics of Wizardry. I will be very honest with you. I hope he mentions Wizardry here, because it needs love. I tried to make a YouTube video on it and stream it, but that shit tanks. So I was like,
And I'll give it a 2.5 out of 3 here.
2.5.
When it comes to F2P accessibility, this game will receive a whopping 0 out of 3 because, obviously. So, Honkai Star Rail's final score will be a 5 out of 10, just like Genshin Impact. Some people may reduce enemy quality even further, or possibly penalize HSR for being so damn F2P unfriendly, but I think I'm satisfied with this rating.
Okay.
Next up, we've got Fate Grand Order. This is, of course, a story-based game, and it shows with its endgame content. However,
FGO beating Genshin and fucking HSR is wild, bro. That's actually insane. Like, what the fuck? Oh, bro. Dude, I think we need to sit down and play it. I think we need to do a FGO stream this week. We'll schedule it. Maybe we'll do it like Tuesday. I think we need to sit down, we need to play FGO and give it a genuine fair chance. Because all I hear is negative stuff about it. But obviously it has an audience. Now I think it has an audience because of the Fate IP. But I guess I'm ill on Tuesday. Nah, brother, you got to be here for it. What are you talking about? 400-hour story? Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. I think we need to sit down and just lock it in. We're getting more League soon, Jay. We got to get more League ASAP. Absolutely. This week as well. We'll do more League as a group.
I think it fares a lot better.
And we're going to be doing
Limbus
World of
Company,
Warcraft as well. I'm very excited about that.
FGO doesn't really have any rotating endgame though, which is kind of rough. Its two
Girls
main
Frontline
sources
2?
of content are completing the hardest story fights
Gooner.
every time a new story chapter is released, and
Okay,
any
Gooner.
challenge quest an event is released with. Events have at least one challenge quest, with
Gooner.
some having more. But with that out of the way, let's get into the ratings.
Scotty, you heard
when
me,
it comes to
yeah.
enemy quality, this game probably has some of the most unique enemies out of
Play World of Warcraft, brother. We're getting a bunch of people on. A new classic version comes out in 2 months that we're gonna grind out. I'm like low key trying to be like a massive WoW streamer as well. Like I really love this game. So I'm finishing up the leveling process, and then by maybe Thursday or Friday, we should be able to do like mythics and stuff. I don't know if we'll be able to do raids yet, but I think me and Tillian and Venarian could absolutely do some mythic dungeons.
any game on the list. It's a shame there's no rotating endgame content to make use out of all.
The game does love me.
Every playable character can potentially be an enemy, and they can use their playable skills
Oh,
on
that's
you in
cool.
their enemy form. Of course,
Okay.
there are also non-playable character enemies, all with their own unique
actually dope.
characteristics and mechanics that make them either weaker or stronger against certain
Wait, that's fine. Let's get back to this.
characters.
These
Other than
psychos.
that, there's not much else to say. I think that a 3 out of 3 here is a very good rating.
Okay.
When it comes to mode
I think
quality,
that's
though,
fair.
well, since FGO has no rotating endgame content, this is where it's gonna
Oh,
struggle.
what?
However, its challenge quests and major story fights are still very well made. Each challenge quest has an
Are they
enemy with their
repeatable?
default mechanics, but also extra gimmicks on top of that. I guess kind of like Apocalyptic Shadow and Honkai Star Rail, but a lot more complicated. The most recent challenge quest on the NA version of Fate Grand Order is the Summer 2025 event's challenge quest. The short of it is that you need to kill the boss with a name that I'm never going to pronounce, and an outfit that I should probably censor because this is Fate Grand Order. But anyway, she has insane defense buffs that you have to kill all the enemies on the site to remove. Each enemy has their own different buffs and debuffs that they can apply, and in the end, it kinda starts playing like a puzzle, which I think is really fun. However, I really can't get over the fact that all you do in this game is level up your characters and do the story quests and challenge quests. So, despite how fun these modes can be, a 0 out of 3 is the only rating I can give here.
I think the reason why FGO gets such a bad rap is obviously because of the fact that it is 100 hours video game, and the gacha is just god awful, right? That to me is the biggest blunder that I've heard from anyone who has played the video game. So too much time, yeah, a lot of time. FGO is a story game. It's a story game where there was no pity, and to spend $80,000 on it, which means that like the game, if you spend that much money on that game, like that's crazy. The fact that you can spend that much money on like a gacha game is wild. It's too much farming and no autoplay. I don't mind no autoplay. I think that's fine, honestly. Right? Like I feel like autoplay some instances is good, but in other situations I wouldn't mind sitting down and playing it. Give me Tales of Berseria. Dude, a Tales of game would be crazy. A Tales of gacha game would go hard as hell. Honestly, I love Tales of series. Tales of Symphonia is goated.
I'm sorry, if you don't care about always having
10-year-old
something to
game?
do though, it's definitely a 3 out of 3 instead. When it comes to F2P accessibility, then there's two sides to Fate Grand Order. Now, you can
What
beat
up,
the
Aitoma?
content
What
in
up,
this game with
baby?
basically any unit, but it's really tough to
Love
beat the
you.
game with the units you want to beat it with, because the gacha system is so ass,
Yeah.
which I've already spoken about multiple times on this channel. Although, because you can still beat the game with skill and skill only, I'll give it a 2 out of 3 in the end. So, Fate Grand Order's final rating will be a 6 out of 10. Yes,
Okay.
somehow higher than Genshin and HSR, even though it
There
has
was
no rotating.
There was a Tales of Gacha? No way. Real bro, I would have played the fuck out of that. Dude, Vesperia is a great game as well. I think every Tales of game is pretty solid. I didn't really try the newer ones. I played Tales of Symphonia, Tales of the Abyss, Tales of Vesperia, Tales of Symphonia 2, and there was one more that I can't remember off the top of my dome, but I love the Tales of series, brother. Great fucking game. Tales is the only one I didn't like. Dude, I would love to do a Tales of playthrough one day. Maybe we'll just do that as like in a Kick exclusive stream or some shit. Try YS8. Oh, I played the YS series. I have one on my Steam actually. It's like a side scroller, not a side scroller, but yeah, the YS series is pretty solid. I like that too. Tales of Rise got
content. It just goes to show how
Tales of
repetitive and
Gacha.
unfair
Okay, bet we
these
can
two
check it out
games
after.
can
I'm down.
objectively be.
I'm with it.
The next game on the list is Epic 7, and just like a couple other games on the
Epic
list,
7.
it has so many endgame modes it's kind of absurd. Of course, it is a PvP game, but still has many PvE elements, and while people may already cast it aside, I don't think that's very fair to this game. Its multiple PvE modes include the Abyss, Rift, and Trials of Constellations. The Abyss is a non-rotating tower mode with 120 floors and an extra 20 harder levels. The Rift is one of the game's most efficient ways to farm, and Trials of Constellations is also another way to farm, with small roguelike elements, but it's also a lot more rigid than Rifts. Now, since I don't have much experience with Epic 7, I'll only be focusing on these three modes. Epic 7 players can make their own judgments, and any rating change just by you guys in the comments would be very much appreciated. But keep in mind, I'm also writing this script with the help of somebody who calls themselves the Epic 7 Glazer. And bear in mind that in this list, we're only focusing on PvE content and not any PvP content. So let's start with enemy quality. Now, the Abyss doesn't rotate, however, each level is unique with its own set of mechanics.
Really enjoyed the Abyss of Epic 7. I think we are going to go back. I still have it installed. I stopped playing it because of Etheria Restart. I thought Etheria Restart would be a big hit, and that game is the biggest piece of dog shit. But the Abyss mode was really good. The PvP was fun, and honestly, the story wasn't even bad either. So, very, very good video game. Very good video game.
And enemies. That may sound bad for F2P players, but hang on for the F2P accessibility section in a bit. Rift rotations come in seasons, with each season rotating around once every 6 months, and each season has its own boss. You do fight the same boss for the whole season, unfortunately, so as a mode widely considered as endgame by the player base, it does end up just being something that you have to press the fun button for. When it comes to Trials of Constellations, then while these reset monthly, every reset has the same 5 bosses. There are other modes with more unique enemies and mechanics, like Halls of Trials though, so Epic 7 doesn't really fail here. I'll give it a 2 out of 3 when it comes to the enemy quality. If anything, the mechanics this game has definitely make up for any lack of unique enemies. When it comes to mode quality, then first off, there's always something to do in Epic 7, whether PvE or PvP, but a lot of those things that are always available to do focus a lot more on PvP. While the more important PvE game modes rotate less frequently, or at least not as frequently as other games.
They have a cool dungeon
system
system
these modes are is the same story as earlier, since enemies are kind of repetitive in them. I mean, basically, these PvE modes are mostly just to farm to do better in PvP content, but in this list, we're only rating PvE content. Since they're mostly just for farming, a lot less effort is put into them, but that's definitely not a knock on Epic 7, since the PvP content this game has to offer is actually pretty damn good. Here, I'll give it a 1.5 out of 3. When it comes to F2P accessibility, then Epic 7 isn't really a saint, but it's not really a demon either.
Yeah,
First off, since a lot of the game's PvE endgame content relies on farming, you can have a guess that so much of that is because of RNG gearing systems. You do need a lot of equipment and gacha characters in Epic 7, and if we consider the Abyss to be the benchmark of how good the endgame content is for F2P players, then it's definitely not the best. If somebody is able to clear the Abyss with only F2P units, it will require some RNG luck during the battles themselves. However, the game isn't predatory either, giving you a lot of currency and time to get the units that you do need to beat the content. You can actually farm in modes like Hunts, where it can sometimes
apparently they just gave out a fuck ton of free MLs that I missed, which is kind of annoying. I should have never stopped playing this game for Etheria Restart. What a misplay. But yeah, I mean, it is similar to the Etheria Restart. I believe the is the MLs, it costs 300 currency. Is that the exact same as E7? I don't necessarily remember. But the new player experience got completely revamped, and it's honestly pretty solid. You also get a free character that's really good in PvP, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I know he's like a blue character. But yeah, it's pretty valid.
Drop
I'm fucking
bookmarks
with
or
it.
sky stones, which is the pull currency in the game, although kind
It's
of rare.
unfortunate.
I'll give it a 2 out of 3
07
here.
Ethereum.
I think that's fair. So in the end, Epic 7 will have a final score of 6.5 out of 10 for its PvE endgame content. The next game on the list will be Wuthering Waves, with Tower of
Wuthering
Adversity,
Waves!
Whimpering Wastes, and the holograms as well.
Wuthering Waves
I
is
think
horrendous.
holograms are some of the best endgame content Wuthering Waves has to offer, with them simply being a skill check. The 5-minute timer will never run.
Dude, holograms has so much potential, but they're not replayable. In the sense of like you beat them once. I don't know, man. Maybe I've just played so much fucking WoW, but I never see myself going back to in 1.0 I did. I don't know if it's an arena thing. In 1.0 I would always go back and fight the holograms again. Now I don't really do that. Now I'm just kind of like, whatever. I beat them once and then I call it a day. You know, if we had a hologram boss rush, if we had I mean there's so many different ways to honestly make the holograms feel really special, but I don't know, they just don't do that. And we had that one hologram boss rush co-op game mode that was fucking amazing, and we even had the tower game mode that was great as well. Yeah, the virtual crisis. If that became an end game, I could see Wuwa being like super duper high and like one of the better ones. But with the inclusion, he hasn't gotten to Wiwa yet, but Wiwa is just god awful, man. It's just fucking bad. You know, the hollow reset is when they add in one every patch. Dude, they should, if they're not going to add a reset to holograms, which is like fine, I get it, then just add a boss rush mode that resets every couple weeks. You know, just add a boss rush mode. You make it super easy. You don't lock Asterite behind it. And then for the sweaty people, you kind of make it in the vein of a Stygian Onslaught where there's more HP. Or no, I mean just use the tower mode. Just fucking use the tower mode. But if you did want to do like a boss rush where it's like, okay, attacks are more frequent, there's a little bit more HP. You don't need constellations and shit, but you know, you gotta like make sure you're on point, and you don't lock any premium currency behind that. You just fucking allow people to play it and go about their day. But I don't know, man. Wuwa is on the cusp of like really good endgame modes and really great things, and then I feel like they low-key just fucking dropped the ball. This new TOA, I find it fun. But also, like, I understand why people don't like it and how there is issues, whether it's the vigor, whether it's the currency being locked to that second stage. The fucking AI is horrendous. Like, I enjoy it, but I enjoy it because I'm an Omega Sweat. I understand most people are not Omega Sweats, and I get that. I think that's fair. So, yeah, it's fucking stupid. I don't know, man. They really need to lock it in on this shit.
Run out unless you're fighting something way above your level. So, the Tower of Adversity is your box standard tower mode, and Whimpering Wastes is just Wuthering Waves' answer to HSR's Pure Fiction.
Sucks,
so a mode
bro.
where you get hordes thrown at you and you have to defeat them in a certain amount of time to get a score. So, let's get right into the ratings. When it comes to enemy quality, unfortunately, Wuthering Waves also reuses enemies quite often. From all the stages I've looked through, it seems to be just as much as Honkai Star Rail. Although, Wuthering Waves is just over a year old, so they don't have as many enemies as games like HSR and Genshin. However, I don't see why we need to be fighting a 1.0 boss in the TOA more than a year later. Now,
fuck that boss. That boss has the worst fucking AI of all time. I'm talking, I would rather put my pinettes in a blender than fight that dickhead. His AI is so bad, it makes so many characters feel horrendous to use. Like, horrendous. Like, the thing about Yuno is not only is Yuno super powerful, but she can hit you from pretty much anywhere in the TOA arena, right? Augusta will run into you and she'll fucking jump in. But, like, when you're using a lot of these other units, you gotta fucking run to the boss. And it's not fun running around trying to fight a boss. Like, when did I sign up to play Genshin? Is it as bad as Genshin, like with the Weena and stuff? No, but it's fucking annoying. How like we're now getting a bunch of bosses that just run away. It's like, okay, man, like can we just fucking not? Like thoughts on not doing this? Because people didn't like it in Genshin. They're not gonna fucking like it here. Also, what up, Daniel? What up, baby? It's just so stupid. Genshin is now using local legends in Wuwa's harder version of normal mobs in TOA. I heard the local legends they're using though are like kind of like more specific, but bosses should come to you, not them. I agree. Not you to them. I agree. Absolutely. Right? Like you can make an argument Dragon of Dirge is just hard because his AI is annoying, and I think that's fair. I'm cool with Dragon of Dickhead McGee. But like dude, like when are we? It's just so annoying. I can't fucking do it.
My
It's
biggest
very
complaint
frustrating.
here is that the enemies in Wuthering Waves can be really fucking annoying. Now, to be completely honest, that is probably a skill issue, but I'm also playing ZZZ while having nearly zero complaints about the enemies other than them having a few invincibility windows here and there.
He's one
While
of
in
them.
Wuthering Waves, so many enemies are genuinely
Oh.
super irritating to fight.
Yeah, I feel you,
Other than a few
Ichi. I feel
extremes
you,
like
dog.
Lorelei being a little and if you don't kill her fast enough, she enters the most annoying
It's
phase
rough.
a boss has ever had in any recent ARPG, and Thundering Mephis thinking he's Virgil, but really he's just a little too.
I am the storm that is
Wuthering Waves really likes to punish the
approaching.
player, and again, you can call that a skill issue as much as you want, but to me it ends up being way more annoying than it is fun. Obviously, Wuthering Waves won't get a 3 out of 3 here because it reuses
Yeah, I get
enemies so
that.
damn frequently, and because I think fighting the enemies can be genuinely quite frustrating. I think I'll give it a 1.5 out of 3. However, that is very subjective, and if you don't think Wuwa's enemy design is annoying, I think a 2 or 2.25 out of 3 here is perfect. I also gave HSR a score of 1.5 out of 3, and a lot of people might get really mad about that, and understandably so. However,
No,
they
it's
have the same
understandable.
score,
Fuck 'em.
but for different reasons. Again, if you don't think Wuthering Waves' enemies are annoying, I think they deserve a 2 to 2.25 out of 3.
Nah,
Now,
they
when
can
it
be
comes to
annoying
mode
as fuck.
quality, then the TOA as a tower mode is completely fine. It's a little more unique with its cost system than the MOC and Spiral Abyss, but Whimpering Wastes is pretty fucking boring, I won't lie to you. But I also think that the holograms are some
Weewa is just ass. I think there's so many ways you could fix Weewa. It'll never happen. They clearly want it to be an AoE based game mode, but if you make it where one floor is a clump of elites as opposed to a bunch of different uh multiple waves of enemies spawning in. That way, people who don't have as many AoE teams aren't punished. The HP inflation is fucking annoying. Everything about Wii was just not fun. I'm sorry. I didn't like TOA at first. Wiwa has made me have a newfound of appreciation for TOA because I wish the days of like a bi-weekly TOA is back because that shit's ass, bro. Like it's just not good. You know what I mean? Like the HP inflation in that game mode's fucking horrendous. The game mode in itself is just not fun. It's so actually bad I hate it. No, I agree. I agree with you too. Low key, that's one of the reasons where I'm like, I'm not playing this fucking shit, bro. Like I'm not playing Weewa, man. Like I'm not farming no ass right from that dog shit mode. Get the fuck out of here.
of the
Just
best
can't do
modern
it.
endgame content available, being a pure skill check rather than anything, even if some enemies are annoying, but we're talking about mode quality here, not the enemies themselves. Honestly, if the holograms had some feature where they rotated, maybe if it was more similar to Deadly
agree.
Assault in Zenless Zone Zero, I think a
Yeah, it's a
rating of
good game
3 out
mode.
of 3 here would have been a very heavy understatement. However, I think I'll give Wuthering Waves a
it wasn't a
2.5 out of
ZZZ.
3 here. I also gave HSR a 2.5 out of 3 here, and that sounds insane, but I think that pure fiction
What if it was a game mode where countless bosses spawn and kept doing damage as you killed them and more ghosts survive as long as possible? I think that'd be amazing. That's their version of a horde mode. I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be great, right? You do that, you could have like one half be ads, the other half be bosses, like whatever you want. That would be awesome. I just don't think they're gonna really do stuff like that. It seems like a lot of the times, they mainly kind of cater, or and it's not just Woowa, but all these gacha games really cater towards, okay, let's do something that's gonna make us money. And I don't know how much money that's gonna make people. So how can we fix Weewa? Okay, there's a couple ways you could fix Weewa. One is bring back those universal tokens from the beginning and keep them there as permanent tokens, right? That's the first way you could fix Weewa. The second would be to deflate the HP. The new mechanic that they provided is not necessarily a bad mechanic. I don't remember what it's called, where it ramps up over time, but it really takes a while for that to actually kick in. So, that mechanic, if it doesn't take a minute, I think maybe you could bring it down to 40 seconds, 30 seconds for that to kick in. Again, you could also do something where instead of it being completely just a bunch of wave of ads or wave of enemies, again, it's a big wave of single target elites. So like, you know how like they have those 3 spectral elites clumped up fucking together, right? Why not just make it so that way one half is kind of similar to that, so people are not super punished if they don't have as many AoE characters. There's multiple ways you could fix Weewa. And then I guess the last suggestion, I understand you want to be an AoE game mode, but the enemies still run away from you. The AI is fucking annoying. Augustus time stop doesn't work there. That's just a fucking dog shit design. Like, it's just not fun. It's just not fun. Main fix needs to be the mob packing. Yeah, the mob packing's horrible. And Evergoon, I get it, brother. Evergoon, you should play World of Warcraft with us. So yeah, there's so many ways you could absolutely fix Weewa. I mean, those are just the ones off the top of my dome. But if I could sit down and make a whole dedicated video on it, if anything, but it is what it is, right? Dungeons when? This week, Tillian. I'm not working this week. Actually, PM me. We're going to talk about it today. I'll PM you. Will we look at a bit different this new patch? Yeah, the new Wuthering Waves patch is a little bit different this month. It's a little bit different. Augustus time stop is working as intended. Yeah, and that's stupid. It's dumb. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't fucking care. Like, it's so dumb. Like, why the fuck is that intended? It's stupid. Why am I being punished because I was able to kill the fucking mob faster? It's just shit. It's just fucking shit. Like, we was the biggest blemish on Wuthering Waves' reputation at the moment, despite the fact it's not a Hoyoverse game. Because if it's a Hoyoverse game, it'd be a good game.
Despite
Say
still
less,
being
I'll take a
relatively
Yeah, no
boring,
worries,
it's still
brother.
much more
No
fun
worries,
than
man.
Whimpering Wastes. Either way, I think Wuthering Waves has a lot of potential with whatever upcoming mode they may be cooking.
Why are you
When it
lying,
comes to
Moose?
FTP friendliness, then there was a character shilling drama with Whimpering Wastes a couple weeks ago, but honestly, I think it's just a fluke. I'm gonna give Wuthering Waves the benefit of the doubt here, because other than that, you can clear with all units in the game, and the echo investment needed to do so is miles below any relic or artifact investment needed in HSR or Genshin, on both older and newer characters. I would say that Wuthering Waves is like 70% skill and 30% echo and Gacha luck, and for
Okay.
reference, Genshin Impact is 80% luck and 20% skill, and HSR is like 100% luck and 0% skill. With that said, I'll give Wuthering Waves a
dang it.
3 out of 3 here. So, Wuthering
I don't know if I'd give it a 3. I'd give it like maybe a 2.5. I think I'd give it like a 2.5 with the addition of Weewa as well as the new game mode where it is a lot harder. I would give it like a 2.5. If someone were to give it like a 2, I wouldn't be mad about it, honestly. But yeah, I think a 2.5 is more along the fair lines, you know what I mean? So, it is what it is. Yo, I appreciate the follow, Marine. Thank you, dog. Thank you. Welcome, and hope you have an amazing day today. Good morning, man. Good morning.
Waves' final score will be an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, for love.
Next up, we've got
kills.
Zenless Zone Zero,
Shit.
the fourth and final mainstream Gacha game, or at least what I would consider to be a mainstream Gacha game. It's definitely the Hoyo game with the best endgame content, at least. It's
That's
got two
true.
rotating endgame modes, Shield Defense and Deadly Assault.
I will say this. I think Weewa, excuse me, not Weewa. I think Zenless Zone Zero. I'm not even trying to be funny when I say this. Zenless Zone Zero, Endless Tower is a game mode that I absolutely fucking love. I find it to be super fun. I know not a lot of people do it. I think it's fun. However, I don't like the Hoyo philosophy of elemental checks on top of class / subtype checks. So Zenless Zone Zero, while probably is the best game Hoyoverse has made and genuinely has some positives, will probably never be in my rotation because of how the game functions. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I do. I think if the game wasn't as restrictive in certain ways, it would be doing much better. But I think people are just kind of tired of that shit. So I genuinely do think there's so much good to be said about Zenless Zone Zero. I do. I love Deadly Assault. Deadly Assault is a great game mode. Deadly Assault is a great fucking game mode. The problem is that the concept of Deadly Assault, I should say, the concept of Deadly Assault, you could say might be the best Gacha endgame mode. You know, and I think if someone told me that, I'd be like, yeah, I could see it, and I'd probably agree with them low key. I just don't think they execute it well. But it is what it is. So before he gets onto his thing, I just wanted to get that out there. Score Tower is amazing, infinite and ranked. Yeah, no, I mean, I get it, and I think it's cool. It gives you something to do. You get to test your abilities. You get to test like to what length you're able to clear things, the ranking system, etc. I just fundamentally don't like the gameplay. That's not even true. I like the gameplay of ZZZ. I do like the gameplay of ZZZ. I just don't like the restrictiveness of the game. And so that to me is like the biggest like sad part about the game, because like I know it's not this horrendous like dog shit fucking video game, like, but I also know that they will never change some of their philosophies because that's how Hoyoverse works. And it makes the money. It is what it is. But yeah. So ZZZ ranking higher here, I wouldn't personally rank it higher because of the way the game functions. However, if you take these endgame modes and put into a different video game, I think it's up there absolutely. Yeah.
Shield Defense is the box standard tower mode, and Deadly Assault is everything Stygian Onslaught and Apocalyptic Shadow should have been, and what a rotating holograms mode should look like. There's also the simulated battle trials, which are some of the best modern endgame content available. Alrighty, ZZZ is getting late, so let's get right into the ratings. When it comes to enemy quality, then ZZZ is going to get some pretty good credit here. First of all, unfortunately, they also do reuse enemies quite a lot. Probably a little less than HSR and WoA, but also I wouldn't be surprised if it was just the same. But definitely not as much as Genshin though. Although, just like Wuthering Waves, it's only a little over a year old, so it will by default get a better score than both Genshin and Honkai Star Rail when it comes to this. Other than that, when it comes to how fun the enemies are to fight, then they are incredibly fun.
No, when I react to gacha videos, we stay in the WoA category, and then when I react to general videos, then we go into the WoW category. Yeah, that's because we're watching gacha videos still, so I'm not mad about it, you know. We were talking about Wuthering Waves before, you know what I'm saying? You know, we'll swap to the WoW category soon.
I am absolutely in love with Zenless Zone Zero's combat. The enemies are part of the reason why. They attack at just the right frequency and difficulty that they need to. The enemies also have a very good HP to mechanics ratio, again, because you benefit from all the parrying that you do. The only bad thing about Zenless Zone Zero's enemies, off the top of my head, is that some of them, like Miasmic Jane, or some second phase bosses like the Dead and Butcher, have invincibility windows, but other than that, I think ZZZ currently has the best enemy design in any mainstream ARPG.
Sometimes I dislike miasma, other than the annoying. Look, putting miasma to the side, I don't think it's a miasma problem. Again, I think it boils down to the same thing I just said literally 2 minutes ago before he started talking. You have, also, what up, Connor? You have the time where you can't use Anomaly, but you also can't use a fire character, and you can't use this weakness, etc., etc. There are some characters like, look, I ain't gonna lie to you, I enjoyed Miasma Jane. I did, and I don't like the miasma mechanic. I just love the Jane Doe fight. The original Jane Doe fight in the tower is one of my favorite gacha fights ever. I really, really had fun with that. But again, it's a double-edged sword. It's literally fucking miasma plus invulnerability. I know, yeah. It's just not for me, man. It's just not for me. I don't like that. I don't like that philosophy. I think it sucks. I think it fucking steals the fun out of it. You know? Personally. Also, I live here. 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 I live! I live. Oh! Because I'm fucking like that, son. I'm fucking like that. I'm your mother's favorite. I don't think ZZ bosses are better than WoWas. I don't know. Some of the ZZ bosses are fun. Like, again, I like Jane. The original ZZ bosses are pretty shitty. Some of them are good. Some of them are genuinely good. Some of them are dog shit where they run up into, like, that big fucking ball. The first miasma boss in 2.0 in Shiyu, that boss sucked cock, right? That was so buff type shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty legit, Zen. You know what I'm saying? Type B. Fuck is you talking about, baby? Motherfuckers know me. Okay, I'm gonna add this. I'm not logged into 7TV, but I will absolutely add that for sure. Shut the fuck up, Mitsuru, you bitch.
Or mainstream gacha in general. I'll give Zenless Zone Zero a 2.25 out of 3 here. When it comes to enemy quality, they do reuse enemies a bunch, but probably not as much as the other mainstream games, and the enemies are super fun to fight. When it comes to mode quality, like Wuthering Waves, it does only have 2 rotating modes, unfortunately, Shiyu Defense being the standard kill them as fast as possible mode, which is fine because it was also the first mode, but Deadly Assault also brings a different formula because you actually get performance points in it that aren't simply based on doing as much damage as possible, meaning that somebody who can't exactly do enough damage to fully get the score required to 3-star can supplement that with taking advantage of the other ways you can get points in this mode. And you don't even need to fully clear all 3 bosses to get all the Polycorn rewards.
True.
If you only have 2 fully built teams or one of the bosses has a resistance you can't fight against, you don't have to fully clear them. Shiyu Defense and Deadly Assault also rotate weekly with each other instead of bi-weekly like all the other games,
which is great.
ZZZ has a lot of potential with a possible 3rd rotating mode. I really hope they don't mess it up. Finally, there's the simulated battle trials, which, like I said, I also think is some of the best endgame content in modern gacha gaming. Again, basically just being a skill check. I'm pretty sure Billy Main was able to solo floor 1000, which is really crazy. I think it's really good. I have no reason to give ZZZ anything but a 3 out of 3. Finally, when it comes to FTP accessibility, well, you can beat the game with basically anyone you want. You can see people clearing with many...
different characters, even main DPS bed bigger, which I think is great, although you shouldn't ignore the HP inflation. Now, I actually think that this amount of HP inflation that is currently in ZZZ is pretty healthy, due to the players getting a lot stronger from getting better disk drives, more access to support units, etc, etc, but F2P accessibility is very objective, just like I said in the rules, and so just because players can clear with every unit doesn't mean that I'll give it a 3 out of 3 here. The biggest reason for that is disk drive investment requirements are very high if you're using older units to clear.
Yeah.
Going back to earlier, I would say that ZZZ is 50% skill based and 50% disk drive or gacha luck based, so I'll just give it a 2 out of 3 here. You just need to...
Yeah, I thought he was about to say because someone cleared it with Billy. I was low-key about to crash out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just fucking, I hate that argument. I hate that fucking argument so much, man. Like, I understand they try to use that as a baseline of like, hey, it's doable, but you know, it's just such a no one, like, what average person is sitting down and trying to learn the solo dungeon other than me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm mentally ill. I'm mentally ill. Most people are not trying to learn a solo dungeon, a solo Billy, shit like that. So even with Wuwa, right? Like, even when people use that argument with Wuwa, it's not my favorite thing. It's like, yes, I understand you're trying to say that people can clear, and that I think is okay. But when you use that as the fundamental main argument of, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with the video game, and that's not what he's saying. I just want to make that clear. That's not what he's saying. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the game, I cleared with this character, that's the problem. And thankfully Jay Stern confirmed that the other day as well, which I think was awesome to hear because, you know, I've told multiple times that I'm a bad word because I didn't agree with that take, you know. Discs are also less random than others, to be fair. Oh, absolutely. The drive disc system is pretty good where I believe it has static rolls, right, on certain things. So disc crafting is also very good as well. I would assume that Billy is also maxed the fuck out. Absolutely, for sure. For sure. Will free-to-play accessibility be like this? What is this? Hold on. What is this? Also, I gotta take a pee after this video, bro. I gotta take a pee pee. Yeah, bro. 45%, baby. 45% back down to 9. Ooh.
Grind discs for a while if you want to use older characters. I just absolutely hate all RNG gearing systems.
Yeah.
HP inflation might get worse in the future. After all, it is a Hoyo game. But let's stick to the present in this video. So, Zenless Zone Zero's final score will be 8.25 out of 10.
Okay.
Coming up next, we've got my favorite gacha game of all time, the Battlecats. With some of the best strategy gameplay in the gacha space, Battlecats also has some pretty good endgame content. The rotating modes are the tower-like modes, being Heavenly Tower, Infernal Tower, Golden Tower, Legend Quest, Citadel, and Gauntlet. However, all of these modes are kinda weird because they don't really have a set schedule, and if you want to play them, you're kinda just forced to sit there to wait for them. Some players also don't consider them endgame content exactly, but I think they definitely fit the definition, as they are still incredibly hard, they test your account, and they give you a lot of rewards. As for other endgame content, which I guess you could consider late endgame content, there's the Uncanny Legends and Zero Legends stages, as well as the Malevolent stages.
Matcha got it right. Gacha equals trash. WoW equals goated. I'm just happy someone understands. I'm tired of motherfuckers over here saying, Ethan, why don't you go play Wuwa? No, we're playing a real video game. We're playing World of Warcraft. Well, guys, did you know that Pilot Software's father worked for Blizzard? What do I? Yeah, there's a Gacha cast today. Saints holding a Gacha cast, so it's going to be around 3 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
Which all don't rotate, and there's also the Behemoth Calling stages, which do rotate.
Why not play Genshin Impact?
I won't go into detail into all of these because there are a lot, but I will provide enough information, hopefully. Even as someone who calls Battlecats my favorite gacha game, though I haven't played all of these, I'm not gonna lie, this game is really f***ing hard. So, to start off with enemy quality, automatically Battlecats is going to receive a 3 out of 3. It has some of the best systems in place, and as simple as the game is, they've capitalized upon everything they could. From buffs and debuffs enemies and characters could apply, to ranges, attack frequencies, and everything in between. Strategizing in this game is more than just selecting an anti-red enemy lineup when the enemies are red, it's about choosing exactly when to release your most powerful unit to kill the enemy. And the enemies are designed exactly to take advantage of that, and each of these endgame stages that we've mentioned have a huge pool of unique enemies, and even when enemies are reused, fodder enemies stay fodder, and bosses are lumped together to take advantage of each other, like a really tanky low-range boss with a super long-range one, that all ends up mixing incredibly well. I could sit here and glaze it some more, but that's enough, I think. Let's skip mode quality for now and talk about F2P accessibility, where Battlecats will also receive a 3 out of 3. Not only are there tons of free units you're always able to collect, but you can beat the game with basically anybody you want to. The B-roll I'm currently using is somebody beating Heavenly Tower without even using a single character above 4-star rarity, aka Super Rare Cats and Battlecats. However, the harder endgame stages like Zero Legends will definitely require a few Uber units. However, there are gacha events where Uber units are guaranteed, and if you don't have at least, let's say, 30 Uber units by the time you reach 0 legends, you're probably doing something wrong. As for mode quality, well, the modes are really complicated in the Battlecats. The Heavenly Towers and its variants, which
I just don't get the appeal of this game. I don't know. For me, it's just not my thing. I think the stuff he says about the game, he gives it a really glowing review, so I'm sure it's probably a good video game. I don't think he's just gonna glaze it to fucking spread misinformation or some bullshit. But I don't know. I don't know if it's too goofy, too silly. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tits. You know what I'm saying?
are the ones up on screen right now, are basically
Well,
up
I
to
wanna do the
chance,
due
and
diligence
players
and hear
really
'em
don't
out.
know when one might show up. There are definitely huge stretches of time where a tower just isn't available. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to run out of content in Battlecats, that's probably impossible and will never happen. However, it's still pretty boring to keep waiting for a tower to arrive, so you can try and beat it with whatever new units or upgrades you got. But whichever mode you do play, they are all super fun, and some of them having completely unique enemies to each other,
With
like the
cats?
Behemoth culling stages focusing on
No.
behemoths, and the Malevolent stages focusing on Aku enemies, and the Infernal Tower focusing on relic enemies. So I'll give Battlecats a 2 out of 3 here.
Okay.
Battlecats' final score will be a 9 out of 10. Next up,
Fifth
we've got
grade.
Ark Knights with its contingency contracts, Trails of Navigator,
Exactly,
integrated
Sai,
strategies,
exactly.
as well as vector breakthrough and reclamation algorithm. That is certainly a lot.
Alright, guys, hold on. I'm gonna show you guys how I play Ark Knights in 2025. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the video. Today we are playing Ark Knights. Now, I am going to try and see if I can get to level 100 with Ark Knights today. Ark Knights Tower Defense. Let's get right into it. Apparently, this is Ark Knights 2 is a free add-on. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. Okay. I apologize. All right. Let's
The
get
main ones are contingency contracts and integrated strategies. Those are the ones I'm going to focus on, but definitely don't
Okay.
look past the others because they still provide some great gameplay. You can consider contingency contracts to be the tower mode, but it's not exactly an accurate description of it, as
Okay.
it plays slightly differently and also has things way more unique than any other game on the list's tower modes. Integrated Strategies is a roguelike mode, however, it's not like Divergent Universe or Limbus's Mirror Dungeons, as Integrated Strategies doesn't really buff up your units anywhere near as much as those two modes do, and it's definitely nowhere near as repetitive. Now, let's get on to the ratings. When it comes to enemy quality, then Ark Knights will fare quite well here. I guess you can
I will say, all jokes aside, I did play Ark Knights for a little bit. I enjoyed it. I just was so deep into Genshin at the time that I was scared to really try anything else, so I stopped playing it. There was nothing egregious about it that was like, I don't like this game. I actually thought it was pretty fun, to be fair. Like, all jokes aside, I thought it was pretty cool. Would I revisit it? I don't know. I feel like with Enfield, I mean, Enfield is a completely different type of game. Chad, if you wanted me to give it a try again, I absolutely would. But you know what I mean? I don't know if that's something people really want to see per se. But I'd be down because I don't think it's a bad fucking game. Like, you know, all jokes. And also yes, the OST is fire on that shit. The OST is genuinely top tier. We don't die here. We don't die here. Easy. I'm just like that.
consider enemies in
By the
Ark
way.
Knights to
Do
be
it.
used
I'm down.
similarly to how enemies are used in Battlecats, while Malevolent stages in Battlecats use Aku enemies
the
and
fuck?
Behemoth culling stages focus on Behemoth bosses. Every CC iteration in Ark Knights focuses on different mechanics and enemy lineups, with each CC iteration focusing on enemies that release during a relevant story quest or event story. The lineups for Contingency Contract 9, for example, focus on these 4 elites, which are also the same used in the event story Undertides. In Integrated Strategies, enemies are also very
Every Woo with CC except Ethan uses PGR tracks. PGR's music's good. I'm actually happy he didn't put PGR on this list. I'm sorry. I don't fucking like the game. I just can't get behind PGR, bro. It just feels like Blade Saber for like adults with ADHD. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I don't know.
numerous, using some enemies from
Just don't fuck
basically
with the
every
game.
other mode while also having its own enemies. Finally, the way mechanics are designed in Ark Knights is very fun. Again, kinda similar in a way to Battlecats, but not exactly. With how many characters there are in the game, there will be certain niches and characters that are good against a certain group of enemies. While Ark Knights is simply a tower defense game, they did exactly what Battlecats did and took a very simple formula and took maximum advantage of it. So I'll give them a 3 out of 3 here. No
Okay.
reason for otherwise. When it comes to mode quality, then honestly Ark Knights is probably more complicated than most games. Contingency contracts have seasons, which rotate multiple times a year. Take Heavenly Tower and its extra modes in Battlecats, which happen at a random, except
Tabaru's probably coming that this game is #1, by the way.
Heavenly Tower is very limited. Meanwhile, contingency contract seasons are much more available. While newer players unfortunately can't access older CC iterations, only extra maps modeled after them, the current season is always available to play once you unlock it. TC also has permanent test sites and rotating test sites, which are exactly what they sound like. You can also add many different extra challenge stacks to each stage you try for extra rewards. As for integrated strategies, then new content is added monthly. Now integrated strategies is a roguelike, but it isn't like Divergent Universe or Hollow Zero like we said, where you buff to oblivion. Instead, it's more of a traditional roguelike mode where the content is still incredibly difficult. It still feels like a proper endgame content where you need to get around the mechanics with the characters you unlock, and you can't really brute force it with whatever buffs you get along the way. Now, these two modes don't rotate that quickly, but remember that they're not the only two available, they're just the ones we're focusing on for simplicity's sake. And there's also always something to do inside of them either way. So I don't see a reason to give Ark Knights anything below a 3 out of 3 here either. So 3 out of 3 for mode quality. And you probably saw this coming, but it's a 3 out of 3 when it comes to FTP accessibility too, because it's Ark Knights. Of course it is. Not only is the gacha system super rewarding, but players have proven countless times that you can beat the game if you understand the mechanics well enough with just 4-star units. Ark Knights also doesn't have any RNG gearing systems like artifacts or echoes, so basically all progress is guaranteed.
Wait, what does it have then? If it doesn't have artifacts and echoes, is there no gearing? Oh shit, maybe we should actually play it then if there's no gearing system. What the hell? You could borrow units for endgame modes? But there's like no gear? Nothing? Oh. Okay. You just level up the characters and skills? Wow. Okay, that's actually really dope. I think that's a massive pain point that a lot of people get frustrated with these games. So I think the fact that it has that is, or the lack of that is pretty dope. Okay, maybe we'll give it a shot. Maybe we'll actually sit down one day and play it, like while we're reacting to vids or something. You know what I mean? I think that'd be cool. Yo, the Greedy Mage, I appreciate the follow, dog. Thank you, my goat. Welcome in. Good morning, brother.
Ark Knights' final score is a 10 out of 10, because of course it is. The only reason one wouldn't enjoy Ark Knights' endgame content is because it's a tower defense game, but that ends up just being subjective. In the end, the Ark Knights glaze never stops. That's all I have for you today. Damn, this was a super long video. I wanted to include more games like Punishing Grey Raven, Reverse 1999, but it just got way too long to keep going. I'm sorry.
No, we don't need
next
PGR
time I make
in there,
one
bro.
of these lists, it'll include these two games as well. So thank you so much for watching and making it this far. I appreciate you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe so you can hit that 10,000 subscribers soon and join the Express Train.
Great video. Ever go follow Mooseoncaffine. Great vid. Love that. Yeah, really solid stuff. I agree with a lot of his points, and Wuthering Waves is better than everything.